We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Political machinations are plenty as Joe Biden seeks to bolster his failing international reputation with domestic success. But to what cost? Shenanigans in Fairfax County as Virginians go to the polls. How is it that every event, no matter how subtle and seemingly unimportant, is descending into absolute chaos? Welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio American Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. And on today's show, we'll be looking at the Biden spending spree, the Virginia gubernatorial race, the idea of taxing unrealized income, and talking liberty to discuss the big cases of the week. I'd like to take a moment to wish a fond hello to our listeners out in Kankakee, Illinois on WKAN on 1320 AM and 103.3 FM. Thanks for being part of the team. Remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Let's dive right in. Putting aside the day-to-day machinations that seem so requisite for passing unpopular legislation, how does a party with a razor-thin majority navigate the turbulent waters of the Washington D.C. swamp? Well, to help us answer that question, we're fortunate to be joined by longtime host of Liberty Nation Radio and senior political analyst for LibertyNation.com, Mr. Tim Donner. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Always a pleasure, Mark.
So, Tim, we've seen the last few months, they've exposed fault line after fault line in the Democratic Party as they try to pass legislation. There's been talk of changing party affiliations, discussions about Biden's overall weakness at controlling his own party. And here we are, less than 1 year into his presidency. Is this the type of drama we can expect for the next 3 years? Or will it get worse?
Well, we're at a point where I think we could say, come on, it can't possibly get any worse than this.
Never say never.
Yeah, this is, I mean, that is an indication of how bad it is, not an indication of whether there's any more downside. And for the Democrats, look, they're going to pass something. They originally wanted $6 trillion. People forget that because we focused on the $3.5 trillion. But they originally wanted $6 trillion. We're willing to go for 3.5. Now, how willing are they to go for 1.5, 1.75 in terms of whether that is considered a victory and something that can raise their numbers rather than lower them? Look, this is all they're going to get before the midterms. So they've got to get while the getting's good, because they're probably going to lose at least the House or the Senate or both in 2022.
Yeah, I feel that this year has sort of given everybody a crash course in DC machination and maneuvering. It kind of seems that everybody's now they're talking about reconciliation and Senate parliamentarians as if these were topics that were in the mainstream all along.
Yeah.
But that's not really the case, is it? It's only with Kamala Harris having the swing vote and the smallest possible majority. I think they can afford to lose 3 seats in any House vote. These elements really come into play. Now, could you give us a basic rundown of what these processes and machinations are and why they're so important right now?
Well, effectively, you need unanimous support if you're the Democrats in both the House and the Senate, because the Progressive Caucus is going to vote as one, and they're the ones that are holding out because they're not getting the full range of new social benefits that were in the original plan. So the filibuster, we've heard a lot about it. It's been in place in the Senate since the mid to late 1800s. It's the only thing left, essentially, Mark, that provides the minority party any rights at all in a balkanized political climate where, frankly, there's no discussion between the two parties. That filibuster is something that's been threatened. It does not look like they have the votes to get rid of it. They probably, again, have 48, but they probably don't have Manchin, and they probably don't have Sinema. Reconciliation, which is basically a process that allows the party in charge to pass any kind of new bill with only a simple majority instead of the usual 60 because of the filibuster. So basically what they do is they jam in everything that can possibly be considered tied to the budget and that the parliamentarian will deem worthy of the reconciliation process.
That's
only on budget matters. That's a sticky wicket. And so the parliamentarian, this unelected woman named Elizabeth McDonough, has incredible power because she gets to interpret the standing rules of the United States Senate and parliamentary procedure.
President Biden, he's been pushing for his landmark legacy spending for quite some time, but I mean, he wanted something sweeping in hand before he met with the other world leaders in Glasgow for this climate conference 26. He wanted to show them what a great leader and uniter he was after his performance with the Afghan withdrawal. So surely this kind of attitude, although appealing to the out-and-out globalists who don't think America should really be doing anything by itself, doesn't it leave the regular Americans feeling a little cold? Is it just a vanity project for Joe Biden?
Well, for Joe Biden to think that because he comes up with some legislative language that's going to fix climate change to the satisfaction of the climate change extremists in the global community is a joke, because they don't trust him after Afghanistan. They don't believe that he's competent. They don't believe that he's all there. They don't believe he's in charge. They believe he made really a fatal decision in Afghanistan, and it shocked all these people in the international community who thought he was one of them, that he could be trusted, unlike Trump, who actually, if you look at it and you take the personality away, the competence of his decisions was so much higher than Joe Biden. But we've talked about the cost of this legislation. This is reconciliation bill. We talked about the timing. We talked endlessly about the various contents, but we haven't talked about who really pays for it, Mark, because
I can guess.
in an article this week entitled Zero Cost Socialism, basically what they're trying to say is, hey, we'll give you everything on our wish list, every goodie to make you vote for us for life. And it's really going to cost nothing, because the only people that get targeted are those nasty, ugly billionaires and their ill-gotten gains. So the fact that they're targeted means it's effectively zero cost. But they say only the rich will pay higher taxes, which is a fallacy, because there's $100 million going forward in new tobacco taxes, for example. Those tax the poorest of people, because the poorest people are the ones who smoke the most cigarettes, right? There's also this odious proposed provision of the bill which would allow them to collect taxes on capital gains that haven't even been realized. In other words, they get their cut before you even get yours. You don't even get the capital gain before they come in and confiscate a high percentage of it. So, all of this is going to come home to roost on them when the reality of this bill, all-you-can-eat buffet of a reconciliation bill, is finally passed. Fortunately, thanks to Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, it'll be less noxious than it might have been.
Tim Donner, thank you ever so much. Now, don't go anywhere. Later in the show, we'll be talking about how college applicants are ditching whiteness. But before that, after this short break, we'll be back with Lisa K. Donner to figure out what's happening in Virginia's gubernatorial clash of the Titans. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.